Uh, Happy morning to the gathering. On behalf of the management, MSc SPHIER Incubator, Institution Innovation Council, EDC, and Department of Management Studies, I extend a cordial welcome to our most respected, renowned resource person of the day, Sri Muthu Sundaram sir, who is a CEO, Incubation at Healthcare Technology Center at IIT Madras. This name doesn't need any introduction as he is known widely among the entrepreneurial enthusiasts. I also welcome our most respected director, R&D, Dr. Ramchandra Murthy sir, whose brainchild was this 4 days pre-incubation series. I also welcome the IQAC coordinator, Dr. Rani Hemamalini madam. I welcome all the participants from across the states to this session. I also deem it a privilege to welcome the esteemed guest and brief his credentials. Our esteemed resource speaker, Mr. Muthu Singaram, is a parallel entrepreneur who is involved with several startups. He has over 25 years of experience in engineering, management, and entrepreneurship. He is a chartered electrical engineer and a chartered member and an European electrical engineer, UK. He is also a certified corporate director from Institute of Directors. He has been responsible for developing Malaysian National Unipreneur Development Program. He has been a mentor and judge for several programs of business plan competition in IIM, IIT, HSBC, Power of Ideas, McKinsey for the last 15 years. He has been on board for various associations and like National Incubator Network, Institution of Leadership and Management UK, IIT Madras, Kanpur, LIBA, University Technology Petronas Malaysia, and the list goes on. He is into many projects with the government innovation drive. He travels and had traveled extensively all over the parts of the world, spreading the spirit of entrepreneurship. He is a regular contributor to several magazines and author of many books. The SPHIER family takes immense pleasure in welcoming our most renowned intellect speaker for the first session of our pre-incubation webinar series. I request Sri Muthu Singaram sir to take over the session. It's to you, sir, all yours. Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I think you're extremely kind saying all those nice words. Thank you very much. It's always nice to hear nice words. I hope you can see my screen, and I thank also Dr. Ramachandran and Dr. Suresh and Dr. Uma for giving me this privilege to present to you. And I will spend maybe the next 40-45 minutes talking about entrepreneurship. I request the participant not to draw on the screen because that would disrupt me, please. If the host can disable people from drawing on the screen, that would be very helpful. So let's get started. I've coined the title as Can Startups Be an Alternative to Placements? As you and I know, over the last several years, placements have taken a little backseat. So how can we make sure there's enough employment? So one of the ways to do this would be to start new ventures. If each venture was able to get in 5 employment, so if 10 of your students were to start startups, you would have 50 employment straight away. That's why I came up with this many years ago. So as always, we like you to take 30 seconds to write down what do you expect to achieve in the next 45 minutes, because it's valuable time that you're spending with us. And we always like to see something coming out of it. You don't have to tell me, you don't have to tell anybody, it's just for yourself. So I will keep quiet for 30 seconds and you can write that down. Okay, we'll get on to our first slide. Our first slide says what's required to be an entrepreneur. So you need to talk about characteristics, skills, and knowledge. So that's the first thing I'm going to start with. Wherever I speak, I always like to put this particular slide up because it tells lots of things. First, it says, this is in the book Wings of Fire, an autobiography by the former president with Arun Tiwari. This is a passage from that very good book. It says the special gallium arsenide gun socket barrier mixer diode compatible comparative for antenna systems, India was barred from buying any one of these high technology devices, but innovation cannot be suppressed by international restrictions. I think it really, really describes entrepreneurship really well. So no one can hold you back if you really, really want to become an entrepreneur. So this is a great, great particular quote from that particular book. Now, usually when I do a live session, meaning in person, I usually do an exercise. I ask the audience for several things like pens, 50 rupees, bicycle keys, motorcycle keys, and so on. Obviously, on an online session, that's a little bit hard to do. And with so many people on the online session, I generally do that to demonstrate that entrepreneurship, the first rule is to be able to ask. If you don't ask, you will never get anything. So as an entrepreneur, you must be able to ask. Now, there are a couple of people very good at asking. One of them is, of course, children. They're very good at asking. The other ones are even better, are beggars. Why are they not shy to ask children and beggars? Because they don't really care. To start with, they don't have. So they can only get better. So they always tend to ask. So we need to learn how to ask. The second takeaway for an entrepreneur is to have a vision. I wrote this vision way back 10 years ago when I was traveling like almost every other day. I used to be on the plane between Kuala Lumpur, Chennai, and Toronto. I used to fly on a regular basis between these three cities, as often as sometimes weekly for a long, long time. But then I developed some health issues. So I had to change my vision a couple of years back. So we changed it in year 2018 to this following vision. So the second takeaway is you really need to have a vision to become an entrepreneur. If you don't have a vision, then you're not going to be able to start working on this activity. So the first takeaway is you must be able to ask. Second one is to be able to have a vision. So these are very, very important things for an entrepreneur. So usually in a live session, I allow people 5 minutes to write down the vision and share with the group. So again, I'm going to skip that on this online session. So we'll just, because we got 160 people here, so it's going to take a long time to do that. So we will just skip that part. So remember, first you need to be able to ask. Secondly, you need to have a vision. And now we get into, and just remember this picture. If you have seen it before, don't worry about it. If you haven't, we'll explain to you at the end. So just remember this picture. Now, we often ask in our seminars, do you want to become an entrepreneur? And everyone says the obvious answer, which is yes. But we say no. And why would we say no? The reason we say no, try saying no. That is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do to be an entrepreneur. What I'm trying to say is it's not that difficult because everyone says no. Whenever you give somebody something to do, they always say, um, oh, I have got this to do, I've got that to do. An entrepreneur never does that. He will always be willing to do what he has to do to get there, or she will always do what they have to get there. So that's the next one we want to tell you about. Now, what is entrepreneurship? Harry Truman said, a pessimist is one who makes difficulties of this opportunity, and opportunist is one who makes opportunity of difficulties. Obviously, there is no entrepreneurship if there isn't a problem. Unless there's a problem, you can't find a solution. So today in academic scenarios, we don't say problem statements. We now change it to opportunity statements. So similarly in entrepreneurship, if there isn't an issue, there is no opportunity. So that's what entrepreneurship is about. Now, if you go to Babson College, one of the finest colleges in the world for entrepreneurship, and of course, Harvard Business School. They say it's all about a way of managing and leading. Absolutely, it's really, really correct. If you know how to manage and lead, you will take your team to greater success. Now, this goes back to 200 years ago. Famous French economist said, entrepreneurs shift resources out of an area of low and into an area of higher productivity and greater yield. That's exactly what we're doing right now during the coronavirus. Instead of us doing live seminars, we have now gone into shifting our resources into online. And the good thing about online, you can have a lot more people listening to us. Recently, I did a program for AICT on incubation, and there was 85,000 people viewed that program, which would have never happened in a in a pre-COVID situation. We would have had 200, maximum 500 people listening to me in an auditorium. So there's opportunities we have. Not only people were able to listen, so many people were able to listen to me. They were from all over India, and further people from outside of India also watched that video. So we have lots of opportunities by shifting from low areas to higher area of productivity. Now, this is from these Joseph Schumpeter, an Austrian economist, who said entrepreneurship is a creative destruction, dynamic disequilibrium brought by innovation rather than equilibrium optimization. It's the norm of a healthy economy and general and central reality of economic theory. Why am I showing you all this? What I'm trying to tell you is it's been going on for hundreds of years. It's nothing new. It's just now governments are starting to put in a lot of effort. This is a more recent one by Peter Drucker. The entrepreneur searches for change, responds to it, and exploits it as an opportunity. So you can see almost all these famous economists, professors of innovation and entrepreneurship have the same view. But I like this the best. Anyone who wants to experience the deep, dark canyon of uncertainty and ambiguity, and who wants to walk the breathtaking highlight of success. But I caution, do not plan to walk the latter until you have experienced the former. So it's very, very important to realize you got to do a lot of work to get success. Unfortunately, most entrepreneurs are planning success, but they're not doing anything about it. So they end up failing. So this is something for your entrepreneurs to bear in mind. Now, what are the key successes? Obviously, opportunity comes from discontinuity. When something is discontinued, you start filling up that. Change always helps. Chaos, like right now, the COVID situation, has given lots and lots of people opportunities. Yes, a lot of people are struggling, but there's also another group of people doing extremely well. Recent data shows at least 14% companies are doing extremely well during this time. So it's not everyone is doing, and you would have probably seen in the news, the world's richest people have become richer during this time. So vacuum is another area of opportunity. And if you can find gaps, now who drives it? People, perception of opportunity, people who are evolutionary, who know how to change things, to see the future. And the third one, which is the least important, is resources. But unfortunately, over the last 20, 25 years, when I've been doing this, entrepreneurs always say, if I had money, I can do this, I can do that. That's not true. Money will come to you if you're able to actually demonstrate there is value in what you drive. And revolutionary ideas will always be able to raise money. Now, who's an entrepreneur? We have put this specifically to show that promoters are people who are like salesmen. They're very good in pushing stuff, but they're very poor in creativity and low. Executives, they're very good in managerial skills, but they are poor in innovation and creativity. Scientists, professors, they're highly creative, but they are poorly skilled in managerial skills. An entrepreneur combines both this, it takes a product to the market. We are not saying the same person does it. That's why you'll always see successful companies have multiple leaders in them who take a lead. One will take care of sales and marketing, and the other will take care of technology. And this makes a difference. You need to have a combined team effort to be an entrepreneur. So another very, very important thing for you to remember. Now, why are we promoting entrepreneurship? I already said at the start of my conversation that it creates new jobs. So in a time like this, we need new jobs. The, the airline industry is losing jobs left, right, and center. The tourism, hotels, they're all losing business. So we need to have new ideas, new industries, just like the cell phones and internet shopping has opened up the doors wide open. Today, sitting in the remotest part of the world, you could still get access to the best things in the world. They can be couriered to you by just looking at the internet. So it's obviously technology helps in new industries help. It gives us economic and social mobility. It also creates equity. It makes great leaders. And above all, it contributes to society. So we are bringing the number of jobs, unemployment really down by creating newer jobs. So very, very important. Now, another reason why we promote Many women today are forced to look for work because one salary is not enough just to buy a house in the likes of the city, in our city, Chennai. It's so expensive. A single salary may not be able to pay for the bank loan and also keep the family running. So women are forced to enter into work, not by they have to work to make sure they're able to pay the bills. Jobs are not forever now. Companies are rearranging. As we now hear so much about companies want to move out of China because of the current situation. So when that moves out, lots of people will lose jobs. So companies are rearranging. So entrepreneurship is encouraging. You're seeing everywhere. You see almost every college today was willing to run an entrepreneur program. When I first came to India over 25 years ago, to run entrepreneurship programs, very few colleges would actually be keen. It would be the IITs and IIMs were then keen. Today, almost every college, even the ones in the second and third tier cities, keep calling us to come speak to students on entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is increasing. Contract and temporary work is also increasing. And you can work flexible as an entrepreneur. So all this helps. Now, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? First thing, we need to have drive and energy. Many of us, 80% of us, do not have drive and energy. We just do things because we have to do, not because we want to do. So it's important for us to get into that mode. We need to have self confidence. This is something in India we need to work hard on. Many of our students don't have the confidence to do things. So we need to create that. And entrepreneurship is not a short term, it's all about long term. It can take 3, 5, 10 years before you can even make any money. So you need to be long term. Next, money is only used as a measure. So you may ask why some of the richest people in the world continue to keep making money, just like Jeff, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Michael Dell, Narayana Murthy, and you can name them. All of them use money only as a measure. They have more money than they need. So how would you measure? So money is just used as a measure, and they're all good in problem solving. And also you need to have goal setting, just what I started with. And most of us take moderate risk. Obviously, if you cross the road without looking left and right and then back again, you deserve to be run down. So similarly in entrepreneurship, you need to make sure you mitigate your risks as much as you can. These are some of the things we talk about in our book. Sorry, this is still research done by someone else. So let's just share that research with you. And you need to be able to deal with failure. Most entrepreneurs find it difficult to deal with failure. So they end up going to start to work. Next thing, you need to have a feedback loop. The feedback loop helps you to correct and do better. You need to be initiative and you have to be responsible. Very crucial. You need to be able to know how to use your resources. And we only compete with ourselves. We don't compete with others. If you notice, some of the famous actors or actresses, when they're interviewed, they always ask them, who do they try to emulate? And people like Shah Rukh Khan, Priyanka Chopra, they always say they only compete against themselves to be better and better and better. So we can learn from them to be better and better. You need to compete with yourself, and that makes you better. You need to have internal control. Many of the time, things will go down, things will go up. We cannot be overly enthusiastic about coming down or going up, getting emotional. We need to have internal control. And tolerance of ambiguity. I think the COVID-19 has taught all of us the tolerance of ambiguity. Right now, we don't know when we'll be back to normal. And some places like ours, we're still in lockdown. So we don't know. The tolerance of ambiguity is very important. Those of us who can tolerate do better, and those of us who can't get depressed. So it's important for us to be able to do that. Now, these are my own personal views from my own experience in the last 25 years of what I've done. And I do this extremely passionately. And the first one is you need to have vision, very important. I used to train both my sons who are now young adults when they were 5 years old to write little notes on vision and how they're going to achieve it. Today, they're both in their early 20s and doing their own activities, both running their own little startups. Both are making a name for themselves. So having a vision is extremely important. We need to have fun and relax. If we don't have fun doing something, we'll never be able to do it. So you need to always enjoy what you're doing. We have the urgency and excitement. I keep saying this. You might ask, what does urgency and excitement mean? Urgency, we need to know how important it is to get things done. And I will explain to you in the next slide why I like urgency so much. And you need to have time for family and prayers, because when things are down, you need to look at something. So that's very important. And you must have time to exercise, because time runs faster and faster as you get older, and your little body becomes slower and slower. So you need to do at least the minimum to make sure you are healthy. Now, be. What should you be? You should be open. If you're not open, you will not be willing to learn. So that's very important. You should be yourself. Don't worry about others, because nobody really, really cares. If you're open, you'll be able to change. If you're not open, you won't be able to change. So it's important for an entrepreneur to change, because the whole point of being an entrepreneur is to be successful. So if things are going wrong, you should be able to change. I had said earlier urgency. Now I've returned patience. They're totally different. Urgency, my dentist told me years and years ago, my late dentist back home in Malaysia, he, he used to have three chairs. And I used to say to him, doctor, and he was one of the finest dentists in the city where I come from. I asked him one day, why do you have so many chairs for what, doctor? This is a little bit of a rush. He says, no, I never rush. It's the urgency of my patients. In dentistry, they have to numb the teeth, and sometimes it takes good half an hour. So he says, instead of wasting the half an hour, I numb the first patient, I go to the next patient, and I return back afterwards where my patient is now ready for the treatment. So that's urgency. And you need to have patience like he has, and urgency, or he had rather. And be helpful and respectful to others. Very important. We need to be serious and result oriented. And we must be thankful to what we have. And you often hear people complain, I wish I was him, I wish I was her, I wish I this, I wish that. I think that's not going to get us anywhere. We can admire somebody else, but we should never be unthankful to what we have. We are very fortunate to what we have. Now, this should be, you should know where you're heading. Most people don't know where they're heading. They just plug along every day for no reason. So we need to know exactly where we are going. We need to be able to handle success. You would see this in a lot of Indian movies. Suddenly someone becomes rich and they treat all the poor people badly. So we can't do that. We need to be able to handle success, because you're the same person. You were yesterday and you're today. And this was taught to me many, many years ago, my father. You need to earn what you do. It should not be a free hander. Because when I was a young engineer, I used to complain to him that my manager never sent me on any overseas trips. He only sent all the other engineers. And my father said, you should want to go to overseas trips on your own, then where you'd enjoy your trip. And rightly so. Every time now I make a trip overseas for a holiday, it's much, much more fun than actually when I go on work. I've traveled on work to many parts of the world, probably 40, 50 cities in the world. But when you go, and I probably have visited as many on holiday as well. So when you go to a city working is different when you go to a city for a holiday. So it's always worth it and earning it. You shouldn't feel sorry for yourself, because as I said earlier, nobody cares about you except yourself. You should write positive statements so you are motivated every time. You should plan the next day at the end of each day so you'll be able to do better, because work never ends. So you need to be able to go next. Now, what does it demand to be an entrepreneur? You need to give everything into the venture. It's a full-time commitment. You need to be committed. You need to have creativity and innovation. These are skills you need to learn and improve, cultivate. And it's always good to have knowledge of the subject. That is why I spend so much of my time with academic institutions, because knowledge makes a startup stronger. If you have technical knowledge, or whatever knowledge comes in for the subject, it's so important. It makes a difference. If you're going to start a legal startup, and if you know enough legal, then your startup stands a better chance of survival, because you have the knowledge of the subject. You need to be able to team build. Very important. Give your team members opportunities, which we need to learn as we go along. And entrepreneurship is all about economic values. In the past, in India, there was not much value for being an entrepreneur. Today, there's great value. You can go and list on the Bombay Stock Exchange, and millions of rupees can be made. So the economic values have now come. So more and more people tend to start doing these. We need to be ethical. That's what entrepreneurship is about. We need to be ethical. But ethical is really your personal feeling, how you feel, what is right, what is wrong. So you got to decide that on your own. You need to be integrity and reliable in whatever you do. As soon as integrity is lost, you lose your customers and you must be reliable. This is something we struggle sometimes here in India getting service done. So we need to make sure that's all sorted out. Now, what can influence entrepreneurship? Obviously, education helps tremendously because it guides you the right way. Because we talked about knowledge. Today, policies are very favorable in India. Government, Startup India, Made in India, you name it, Digital India, all these policies are very, very important. And even our state is starting to get into it. Even though in the past, our state was not so into entrepreneurship, they started getting into it. They are now asked for our to review how you bring in medical devices. How can you help medical device startups? So things are starting to happen. I already said this economic value. Now, culturally, we are expected to get a job when we finish a degree. So that has to change. Parents will need to support their children to become entrepreneurs, give them the guidance, give them the support to take to the next level of their idea, because end of the day their idea means so much to them, and as parents we should support them. After all, they're only in their early 20s. There's a long way to go. And I'm going to now hand over for my colleague Sumitra to go through the next few slides. Over to you, Sumitra. Sumitra, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself, Sumitra? Can the can the organizers unmute Sumitra, please? Dr. Uma, can you see whether you can unmute Sumitra?
Sumitra madam, could you please unmute
Haha,
yourself?
now I can able to unmute.
Okay,
Thank
go
you,
for it.
sir. Thank
Go
you,
for
sir.
it.
And I'm Sumitra,
You are
and
not audible, ma'am.
I think I'm audible. Now you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Ah, yes. You are audible, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you. And I would like to thank my CEO, Mr. Muthu Singaram, for giving me this opportunity to do the presentation in before of you all. So now we can go into the presentation. What are the advantages of being an entrepreneur? You can able to control your own future. You're satisfied of making your own money. You're putting your talent into use and doing something that you can enjoy. So this is very important for the entrepreneurs. They need to enjoy in what they are doing, and if they don't enjoy in what they are doing, it is difficult to bring results from the entrepreneurship, because it's a tough game. Unless you enjoy in what you are doing, you won't be successful. So next slide.
It's not allowing me to change the slides. Okay, can you see?
Yes, sir. So now, what are the disadvantages of being an entrepreneur? Someone used to make good money. and someone used to make bad money. So you need to get used of them, and you need to do all your work by yourself. You don't have any assistants to help you, and top of that, life is very hard. So next. So now, what are the current industries to look at? Internet of Things. Internet of Things are happening, and you can easily work on sensors to do lots of work in agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, and transport and logistics, etc. For example, in healthcare, you can work on sensors, enable mobile devices to monitor the patients with chronic diseases. The next one is big data analytics. Big data analytics is another area where you can take a look. Mobile app developments, mobile apps are still there, but probably there are too many, so you can look at those. Mobile payments are exploded, and there are so many wallets. Social media analytics is still at initial stage, so it could be of value. So, cloud services. If you can give them services in the cloud, especially in educational business, the huge where you can refer to a book, literatures, videos, putting into the cloud and giving access to thousands of people. And another areas where you can take a look on life sciences, biotechnology, medical devices, equipment, and general healthcare services. So these are some happening places right now. So you can take look. How do you start a venture? Use your own money. Always is better to use your own money when you are at initial stage. People will appreciate you. Second, bank loans. Third, family members. You can ask money from employees, partners also. Friends, you need to be very careful with friends and families because if it fails, they will think that you have been cheated. So you need to be careful with those peoples. Venture capital is usually takes a little bit more longer time. Mortgage property is not a good idea, but people used to get money from them. Government grants are good places where you can get money from them. So now I'm handovering the presentation to my CEO. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sumitra.
Thank
So that was very well done. Good for you. So let me just take you through for the next few slides. Here we have a thing called cycles of venture. We start them at -4 and we go to stage 4. Now, I'm not going to spend much time on this because this takes a lot of detailed explanation. But basically, what we are saying is there are so different stages in a venture. You start at the pre-idea, you get into idea, you get into pre-seed, you get into seed, then you become a startup. That we call stage 0. And then you keep going to stage 4, where you become exit, primarily that you've overgrown your business. So this is something which you want to maybe look at how it works. And some of the problems as an entrepreneur you would face. The first one is administration and regulatory requirement. Most of us, when we start our businesses, we don't know what is required. And the requirements are different even within districts. For example, if you need to put up an antenna, the rules in Chennai is different from Coimbatore. The rules are different in Tiruchi. So you need to find out what the rules are. Even within Chennai, different areas have different rules. So you need to find out these regulatory requirements, administration, and so forth. Then you need to get startup funding. This is often used to be difficult, but today these are not very difficult to get. There are so many out there help wanting to invest in startups. And of course, most of us lack when we start marketing skills. Without marketing, we cannot sell the products or services. So it becomes difficult. So we need to learn how to market. Next, we need to have growth funding. Initially, you start with the startup funding, then you need growth funding. Then you have also lack managerial skills because as you get bigger and bigger, you need to be able to manage your customers, your products, and so on. So you need to have lots of managerial skills. Then there could be also lack of business support. You need accountants, you need company secretaries, lawyers, and all this cost money. So there could be lack. This is where incubators play a role. They help you access all this expert at a fraction of a cost. And then, most important, again, incubators help you. It's market access. If you don't have market access, you aren't going to get very far. You need to ensure your ideas are protected. But today's fast-moving world, if you're so hung up by protecting your idea, you may not get to the market at all. So it's important to balance between these two things. You need to have technology assessment, extremely important to be able to access technology. So you'll be able to apply, just like Sumitra was talking about, sensors in medical devices, for example. You need to be able to access these devices, the sensors to build these devices. So it's very, very important. Of course, financial providers will be discriminated to you because you're a startup. Obviously, when a young group of people go in, the bank manager would not be comfortable, but these are slowly changing. We need to have standards. We need to adapt to standards and quality. We'll also be discriminated by support providers like telephone operators. They will not give us good lines because they will be worried that we will not pay. Of course, lack of information is another area that we need to work. Now, the challenges, the big challenges that we have. First of all, everything, every enterprise is a big achievement for many people, but maintaining one is a bigger achievement. And many standard challenges that face every business, whether you're small or large. So that's important. And you need to know how to hire people, build branding, and so on. And then there are some, and unique to small businesses, these challenges, which most large companies would have outgrown. Not that they didn't have the problem, they have now outgrown those problems. They will know how to hire people, they will know where to go market access, they will know how to get funding, which a startup will be lacking. So you need to learn. So let's now look at the 5 biggest challenge for a startup entrepreneur. The first one is, of course, customer dependence. Let's talk about these client dependence. Sometimes even we've made this mistake. When things are going well, you forget to expand your customer and you just stick to one customer because things are going well. When the customer decides not to give you something, then you have a problem. That's why in larger organization, when I was running them, like British Telecoms, we'd always have 3 suppliers for everything, including paper. This is to avoid any issues for the organization. So similarly, you on the other side also need to have multiple clients to make sure you don't end up in difficulties. You need to have good management, money management. Right now, you know, it's difficult to go sell stuff. So what can you do? You need to be able to minimize your running costs. So all this is important. And sometimes fatigue comes in because you're doing everything yourself, like Sumitra was talking about a few minutes ago. So fatigue comes in. And then founder dependent. Of course, the work I do depends very much on me, which is unfortunate. Then we have to make sure I'm always there to make sure we are able to get work. But we are slowly working that away now. We're getting younger people in to be able to take that away. And you need to balance quality and growth. Very important again. Now, what do you do now? Come up with an idea, carry out a study, make sure that idea is validated, there is takers, then you form a team. After you form a team, you need to start a venture. So you need to form a company, an LLP, a private limited, whatever it suits. But to get funding, you need to be a private limited. So it's probably best to go that route to start with. You need to get a business plan together because everybody would want to know what you're going to do. Next, you need to look at interested investors, maybe some grants to start with. After that, you go in for investment, you start growing your idea, and you prepare to exit. I showed you this picture at the start of the conversation. Why is it so important? Let's now look at it. The dog is chasing the bird which is flying, and it's going to fall in the valley because it's not at its element. So what do we learn from this picture? So lessons we learn from this picture. Not all opportunities are to be taken. Some are traps, just like that one for the dog. It's going to fall in the valley. A person can become so determined to destroy another person that they become blind and end up destroying themselves. That's exactly what happens to the dog. You're, you fight best in your natural element. An environment, yeah, the bird has advantage in his natural element. He can fly. The dog can't. So the dog gets hurt and the bird flies away. And you need to know your limit. We all have them. So it's important. Sometimes the best response to provocation is not to fight. In this case, that the dog would have been better not going after the bird. Sometimes to accomplish something, you need to teamwork. You will not always win alone. So that's where there's another failure. Stick to what you do best and pursue and don't pursue what will kill you. So this is what the picture tells us, a small picture like that. Now, my last words. Finding a new opening is tough, like a salesman. You must get used to getting rejected. Both winners and losers get beaten, and only losers stay beaten. And the most important here is your attitude, how you see yourself, and how your future you want to work. So this is important. Rejection, you should take action, you have hope. If you don't take action, then you end up in depression. That's why you see lots of people become depressed because they don't take any action. So that's important. Now, how you look at things. The world is changing. We have to adapt. There's two ways to look at it, one positively and the other negatively. Now we have put some statements here. On the left-hand side, they're negative. On the right-hand side, they're positive. 5% unemployment, negative statement. 95% employed means the same, but sounds nicer. I have over 50, negative. I have a lot of experience. I've had too many jobs. I've gained valuable experience. I've only worked for one company. I have shown loyalty. I failed in my interview. I have gained valuable experience for my next interview, which is what many students will be saying over the summer as they try to get jobs. So don't say I failed at my interview. You say I've gained valuable experience for my next interview. So you don't make the same mistakes. So that's what it's all about. Now, it's good to be positive, but you need to be able to focus. You need to organize your activities. You need to record them. Very few people write them. And this has to be disciplined and has to be structured. Very crucial. Now, let's look at some of these very successful people in the world, what they have done. Nelson Mandela, the former president and apartheid leader of South Africa, said, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision is merely passing time. But action with vision can change the world. This person spent half his life in prison and changed South Africa forever. So that's very important. You need to take action with your vision. We talked about vision at the start of the program, but you need to take action for your vision to come into reality. Abraham Lincoln, President of America, who removed slavery, his thought was determine that things can and shall be done, and then we'll find a way to do them. So they and Mahatma Gandhi said this, and some of you probably know. It said, men often become what they believe themselves to be. If I believe I cannot do something, it makes me incapable of doing it. But when I believe I can, then I acquire the ability to do it, even if I didn't have it in the beginning. That's exactly what entrepreneurship is about. The Tirukkural says, wisdom is a weapon to ward off destruction. It's an inner forte which enemies cannot destroy. So it's so important for us to have that wisdom. Now, I wrote this many years ago, maybe as long as 2002, when I first did my very first set of road shows in India at the IIT Madras. Whatever you do is just like betting in cricket match. You must want to run to win. That was a day Pakistan and India were playing a match, and I had a full class to listen to me. And this was in 2000, and I think 2003, a very long time ago. And this is another quote I sent to my wife, and she went to for her first sales when she started up a company. And she had left her two young kids with me in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, in our house where we started that company. And she had flown to Bombay to demonstrate the product to eBay by herself, and she was so nervous. And those days there was no such thing as WhatsApp. She did an SMS to me. So I SMS this and returned back to her. Never give up, for if you do, you have lost the game and you never deserve to win in the first place. And that company today is sold, and she is now doing extremely well. So it took her a long time, but she stood at it, she hung on it, and she did extremely well for that. Now what's next? Do you want to be an entrepreneur? We asked you to say no. Why did we ask you to say no? Because that was the hardest thing you'll ever have to do as an entrepreneur. So now what's the thing? You should say yes. Now, this was sent to me a few weeks ago by my father, and I think it's apt for all entrepreneurs. The biggest communication problem is that we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. And as entrepreneurs, we need to listen to understand, not listen to reply. So that's something which we need to think through carefully as entrepreneurs. Now, what is next? I'd like you to identify your key takeaway from this lecture. You don't have to tell us, you just do that yourself. How does it relate to you? And how will you share this with others from this lecture to promote learning? This is what we hope to do. And this is how you contact me. My name, Muthu Singaram. My email is muthu.singaram@viberzone.com. My mobile number is 97909322420. We have a couple of books on Amazon. If you key in my name, Muthu Singaram, you will get those books. And the e-copies for India has been reduced to the minimum Amazon will allow on the request of the AICT chairman. So you may have a look at it. And of course, my YouTube channel has something going on every week. At the moment, it's running incubation And these slots are only 15 minutes apiece, and they are fairly condensed and they're fairly informative. So you may want to join the channel. And they usually premiere on a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. So there will be one tonight, as usual. And with that, I end my presentation and I'm open to take any questions. And I also like to say to Sumitra, very well done. It's the first time she's done presentation. As many people work with me over the years, I trained them, and she's now on training to become a presenter herself. And her colleagues, 2 or 3 of them already passed that, and they present on their own now. So very well done, Sumitra, for an excellent presentation for this morning. And I hope people appreciated your very first time speaking to 200 people. A great job, well done. And I'm open for questions.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot for a valuable insights you have given to us. There are a few questions which are put in the chat box. Can I read it across for you?
Yes, please, that would help me tremendously.
Yes, sir. How to get the data relating to government policies for promoting MSME in specific states?
Every state has got, like ours, we have an EDI. So if you go to an entrepreneur development website, you will be able to get all the policies they have there. And you can also call them. Their office is somewhere down, I think, near Gandhi somewhere. You can go visit them. They will be able to tell you all the actual policies and grants which are available within the state.
Okay, sir. The next question is, for startups, own money or bank loan or customer funded, which is the best option?
Okay. There's really no best option, depends what you're doing. It's often best to see you putting your own money, because that shows that you are committed and you're serious in what you do. So the next lot of money comes easier because people believe that you have faith. So if you don't put money, then how would other people put money in? But the best option for startups today is probably to look out for a government grant. Those grants will help you. You don't have to repay them back. They're pretty much, I would say, probably not a right word to say, they're free money. So you can use them to start your venture, and then slowly you can expand to raising money from elsewhere. So just because it's free money, you should not take it lightly. You should take it seriously. And today we have lots and lots of grants going out there in India. So I think that probably is the best route. Instead of, maybe you start with your little bit of money, then you go for a grant.
And is marketing research a must for startups? If yes,
Absolutely.
why?
Absolutely. If you don't do the research, how do you know what's out there firstly? And how do you know what people want from you? So those are really, really important questions. Why do startups fail? Because nobody buys them? Or secondly, the startup doesn't know how to sell them. Both are because it's an inability to understand the market. So you should do market research even before you start building your product. And today, market research is not very difficult. The internet is there. So you can get secondary data quite quickly.
How to overcome business failures in today's scenario?
How to come over business? I don't think you can overcome them. All you can do is learn from them and not try and make the same mistakes. Like today, example, if you are starting to do some work which cannot be sold because of the market situation, you need to have resilience. You need to be able to hold on. If not, you're able to hold on, then you need to look at alternatives. So for example, some of the startups at the healthcare center have started looking at COVID related activities because the other things are not getting anywhere. So they manage by reducing their failure rate and lasting. So you cannot avoid failure, you can only learn from them. And we all fail. The faster you fail, the better for you.
What is the reason for the failure that occurs in startups, as a lot of startups fail every day?
A lot of startups fail. There's many, many reasons. One of them is, of course, they've not done enough market research, firstly. Secondly, they probably are not passionate enough to continue with it because they just took it up thinking it's glorious, because there is obviously a lot of publicity saying startups are great. They're great. So a young person will say, hey, why should I get a job? I'll go and do startup. I can become a millionaire. But out of probably 100 people who go out there to do stuff, maybe one makes it. So it's a very high chance of failure. So you need to be careful. You need to be sure what you want to do for a start. You need to be passionate. You need to have the ability to go through hardship. And most of us are not able to do that. And in the last several years, India has been a good place for getting a job. And today the salaries in India are great. So startups fail not because they fail because they saw the other opportunities easier. So they went off to get a job. So that's really the bottom line. It's up to the startup. The failure happens because the startup has not been committed to taking it forward, firstly. Secondly, they probably didn't do enough homework, market research, for example, or they did not have technical knowledge. Could be many more reasons, but these are some of the main reasons.
Someone has asked, what about the political interference in case you have to have something on your own?
I think that's not really a problem. People just say, "Oh, political influence." I don't see that. I mean, I work with government all over the world. If you are doing something nothing to do with them, they don't interfere with you. I mean, you're not big enough for them to disturb you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
How to get funds from government for startups?
How can you get there? Depending what you're doing, there's MSME grants, there's DST grants, the DBT grants. You go up to Startup India's website. There's a list of all the grants available in India.
How to innovate new things?
That's a $1 million question. If I can give you a candid answer with that, I won't be doing this seminar. I'll be sitting outside of my house collecting lots of money. You innovate by yourself. You need to look for opportunities, and you try to give solutions to that. There is no fixed way of coming up with an innovation.
That's it, sir. Most of the questions you've answered through your presentation itself. Thank you so much, sir. I thank you profusely for your valuable insights and patiently answering all the queries. I also thank Ms. Sumitra for her maiden venture and good luck for the forthcoming sessions. I thank all the participants for their wonderful presence and posing relevant questions. I wish to inform the participants that the feedback form will be given on the last day of the fourth session, and your attendance is monitored and it's already recorded. Your entry time and exit time is already recorded. So there is no separate feedback session for every session. So kindly understand that, and it has been already put in the chat box. I thank once again Sir Muthu Singaram sir for his time and his valuable insights on entrepreneurship, and hope all would wisely think and plan to start their own. I thank our director Ramchandra Murthy sir for giving us this opportunity to listen to your wise counsel, sir.
Thank you very much.
Once again, I thank one and all present. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
I'm ending the meeting, sir. Thank
Yes,
you.
please. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you. Bye.